Thank you very much for joining. We're joined here today by Dennis, who's the CEO and co-founder of Accounting.com, and Rodrigo, who runs marketing. They're a crypto tax software platform that make a lot of things easier for a lot of people involved in crypto, but also have an incredible knowledge and oversight of how the whole setup works and system works. And so we've done a couple of these and had hundreds of questions. So thank you all very much for joining. Very grateful to have Dennis and Rodrigo here again. Dennis is going to give an overview of everything from crypto tax reporting and how that can work. So very grateful to have Dennis and Rodrigo here. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Of course, thanks for the invite. Yeah, thanks a lot for the intro. So I don't know how many of you know accounting already, so I'm just gonna present what we do and how accounting looks like. So we built a tracking and tax platform for cryptocurrencies. We started that 2.5 years ago because we realized, after being in the market for a few years, we realized that we somehow need to keep track of all the different investments, the different wallets, exchanges that we used, and we didn't find a proper solution on the market for all of our own needs. So we just built our own backend for tracking purposes. And soon after that, like 6 months later, we decided to build a front-end solution, which is now online, and it's called Accounting. So it's not accounting, it's accounting with an I. And we published that, or we went online about 1.5 years ago. And we were like fastly growing. Now we have over 50,000 users. We mainly offer the tax reporting and the tracking features. All the tracking features in our platform is completely free. So you can just use accounting as a dashboard solution, and you can use it as a mobile app. So I quickly walk you through how that all works and what benefits you have with that. And then after the tracking part, and when you have all the things connected and you see your portfolio in accounting, you can use that system obviously to create the tax reports. And that's why we started it in the first place, because we needed that report for ourselves. And so this is how the dashboard looks like. We have an overview of all the historical performance here. We have an overview of all the different coins you hold, the allocation of your portfolio for the different exchanges and for the assets itself. You can connect all sorts of exchanges and wallets. So you can, for example, just select Binance, you put in the API key and the secret key. This is purely read access. So a secret key here is not the same as a secret key in a wallet. That's just called secret key, but it's basically just part of that API key, and you can select read-only permissions. So accounting only gets information about the historical trades and transactions you did. We will not have any access to your funds. We cannot trade, we cannot withdraw anything. So we just basically read the entire information from all the historical trades you did, import that into our system, and connect it with all the wallets you have. For example, in Ethereum wallet, you can just put in a public address. We import all DEX trades, all transfers from the past, and connect that with your existing exchanges. So that means we will mark every single transfer that you did from an exchange to a wallet. We mark that. We convert the cost basis, the buy date. We keep all of that information, and with that you have basically the entire money flow and the entire flow of your crypto interactions. You have that all summed up in accounting, and with that you can do multiple things. You can do proof of ownership in AML. You can print out a tax report. You can obviously see your average buy prices, the realized and unrealized gains you had in your trading experience, like in your trading history. You will see all the different transactions in a full data set. So you have that full overview. And if someone wants to, like if your bank or the government wants to know how you got the funds you hold today, you can use that to prove it. You can export those files and just play around with it, modify it if you want to. And then obviously, like I said before, we have that report functionality. When you create this report, you can define if you want to file a loan with a CPA, which just gives you more information, more files. You have export files as the CSV and Excel, so you can go into the data and add information or delete it. And you will have a PDF format that I quickly show you here. You can also file with different online tools. But I think the easiest solution to kind of like see the overview of all the different things we show you in the tax report is with the PDF. So you will find a full summary of all the different things you need in your capital gains report. So you have like the number of disposals and like down to the net capital gains and losses. You will have an overview of all the incoming transactions, if that's from margin trading or if that's from income you created, staking, airdrops, all sorts of income. It's summed up here. You have all the different taxable disposals you did. Like if you sold Ethereum or any other asset, you will find all the different classifications summed up here in an overview with the gain or loss according to the average buy price and the sell date, and then some non-taxable disposals. For example, if you just want to withdraw money, you send it someone as a gift. Sometimes you don't create a taxable disposal in some countries. So that's summed up here, but that's all described in our classifications. And then we have like a full summary of all the different incoming transactions, a separate table for margin, losses, gains, and fees. And obviously then the full data set just as another like full summary of all the things you did in your like in the past. Like I said, the entire system is completely free to use. You can import all sorts of exchanges via API manually or with your wallet, and then just use that, play around with it. And if you need the report at some point, you can upgrade anytime. So that's kind of how we set this up, because we want everyone to just have access to a portfolio overview. It's just easier to do that when you start trading instead of like going back a few years when you realize that you don't have all the wallets anymore, you don't have an overview of what you used, or exchanges are down. So that just makes the process a little bit easier. I think this is just like a quick overview of what accounting can offer. And if it's okay for you, Erica, we can already start with some questions, and we can go into some specifics that might maybe some of the people here in the chat want to ask.
Sure, Dennis, and thank you for that. And for anyone that did come in a couple minutes afterwards, just to recap, we do try and make these as interactive as possible. So any questions you've got, please do post them in the chat. There's a chat function at the bottom of your screen. Alternatively, if you want to ask questions yourself, there's in the reactions box, there's a little thing where you can raise hands. And if you click on that raise hand, then we'll get to you directly, and you can ask the questions yourself. So the first question there from Sar was, does one need to be KYC'd to use this service, and will records be accessible by HMRC?
No, we don't require any sort of KYC. You can even log in with an email with a fake email account if you don't want to use your real one. We don't require any sort of like personal information, and we are not sharing any information with the HMRC. We're based in Switzerland, in Zug, in like the so-called Crypto Valley. Maybe some of you heard about that, but we will not share any sort of information. You probably heard about Coinbase, and they will share some of the trading information you had, especially if you had more than 5,000 or 6,000 pounds on the account. But that's nothing we have to do, because we don't allow trading, so we're not required to have KYC in the first place. It's just a tracking and like portfolio overview tool.
Cool, thanks. From Magnus, have you considered extending your product to cover DeFi protocols also? And that's going to be a big hot question of all the demand around DeFi.
Yeah,
of late.
So like you can already import your Ethereum wallets. We will automatically import the trades you did, for example, on Uniswap. You will see different interactions with lending protocols. At the moment, there's a little bit of manual work with some of those protocols because they all have some sort of like a little bit of a different functionality. But most of the trades and most of the platforms in DeFi, we automatically import through the transaction history already. So if you have a specific case with some, I don't know, rebase tokens or something like that, just reach out to us, because that's something that's a little bit special. But most of the things in DeFi are already covered. So.
Okay, thanks. From Richard, do you handle derivatives such as BitMEX perpetuals?
Yes. So that really depends on what information the exchange gives us. For example, BitMEX works absolutely fine. They give us all the relevant information. Some other exchanges sometimes don't mark derivative or future or margin trades as a margin or leverage trade. They just like claim that it's a spot trade in the export. So that's obviously something where that's something we cannot change. We're in contact with those, but most of the exchanges, Binance Futures and BitMEX and these guys, that works absolutely fine. That's not a problem.
One question regarding the crypto exchanges that often have a tendency to get hacked. Can you track that? And I mean, because it's a question we've heard in various contexts, that if crypto exchange gets hacked and user loses crypto, it's often very hard to prove and hard to track. Are you able to help at all on that side? And if so, how?
I mean, that's not our main business, or not our business at all, because what we do is we track the transactions that go into your exchange account and leave your exchange account. But if that's something that you send, or that's something that someone stole from your exchange or from your wallet, that's something we cannot prove. I mean, there's different tools like Chain Security, and these guys, they go deeper into that. But that's a different business and a different user story in the end.
Have you any recommendations to people that have found themselves in that situation whereby they thought they had X amount of crypto in wallet on exchanges, and then for whatever reason that isn't their fault, it gets hacked, or there's problems where it's not there, because that had to happen so often in crypto? What would you advise to do accounting wise? Because ultimately for those users, that crypto is lost, or sometimes, like with the Mt. Gox case, they don't know that necessarily if it's lost, or maybe it's lost, or maybe they get it back. Or
so first, like there's two scenarios here. First, the exchange gets hacked completely and they go down. Like there were a few examples in the past, and they just shut down. So there, it's obviously really nice to at least have the transaction history, so that you can at least prove how much you lost, and you have, if you maybe like if you were able to secure some of the funds, that you have some sort of like history where you bought it and how much you paid for it. So that's the first thing, and that's something we help automatically with our import, because with that you have everything in one place, and you can export like a backup file to just have the history. So that helps to kind of like prove that. If you want to use those losses, or if you want to use like kind of like subtract the losses from any sort of gains or anything in like that, you should definitely talk to a tax firm or a CPA in the UK. I'm not a CPA, so I'm not like legally I'm not allowed to give any advice on that. And I'm also not an expert in those things, where like we focus on the tracking and the reporting part. We have our tax partners, so we can just recommend, like if you just send us a mail and we forward you to one of our partners that can help with that.
If I may add, I think it's also a matter of like best practices, right? Then it's like basically always like make it a ritual of every certain amount of time download or request your different exchanges for the information if they're not currently providing any, if they don't have an API key, or if they're not allowing you to export the information. That's also something that you could like establish as best practices, because you actually never know, right? I believe if we go back, we have the cases of Cryptopia or Quadriga CX. And I remember Cryptopia at some point, even 1 month afterwards, you could still request for your transactions. With Quadriga CX, they went through a very difficult process where you had to, there was an audit from Ernst & Young and trying to figure out like what was the status with that account. So I think as a preemptive approach, the best idea would be to request your every certain amount of time, request your exchange to provide you with those transactions, because at the end of the day, you never know, right? So I think it's good practice.
So is your advice to people for any exchange, just for sort of in case, in the sort of the almost inevitable possibility that crypto exchanges will get hacked, that people should sort of regularly request those statements from their exchanges just to have as proof for in case?
Yeah, it's not only the hacking aspect. It's also, for example, in BitMEX, they don't allow US customers, for example, anymore to trade on BitMEX. So they just don't allow you to export the files anymore via API. So it's just more work, right? But like Rodrigo said, if the exchange gets hacked or if they go down, that's even harder. But there's also other scenarios where you can just lose that sort of functionality. Bybit, for example, they just deactivate their export file from time to time because it obviously adds a lot of load to their service. And so they just deactivate it when they have too many clients on the platform. And so you just can't get it. And if you really need to file your taxes, or you want that for some other reason because you want to cash out and you need to prove to your bank where you got it from, like that's just something that adds a lot of like frustration in that moment. So it just makes sense to do that on a regular basis.
Sure, no, thank you. Just to, and then anyone else who joined a bit later, that we do try and make these as interactive as possible. So please do post any questions, comments in the chat, or raise your hand by the reactions if you've got any questions. Next question for you from Richard: how do you make money?
So that's a good question. We have our reports that we sell. So once you import all the transactions and you go into the reports section, so you go here into the taxes section, you will find, like when you have over 25 transactions, you will find that this page here is locked, and you would need to upgrade your package is like forwarded into the trader or pro or hobbyist, depending on the transactions you have, in order to get the report. And that's our only business model, to actually sell those reports. And that works really well because people now everyone made a little bit of money because of Bitcoin going crazy, and so that's a big need. So that's why we focused on that, and we also wanted to help the crypto ecosystem a little bit, and that's why we decided to have the entire tracking for free. There's other tools out there that allow tracking for free as well. They just don't have the other functionalities. So that's why we said, okay, like I don't want to have a tracking tool for that specific thing. I don't want to have like another one maybe for DeFi, and then I need a third one for taxes. So we decided to kind of like make that platform and the import and the tracking just as the first step into accounting. And then we have different features, for example, the report for now, that we use to upgrade and to upstream, and with that we make money.
And Rich is asking, how do you use the data? Anonymized, of course.
Yeah, so we don't use the data at all. It's anonymized. The API keys are encrypted on the database, so not even our developers have access to it. That's why if there's like at some point, sometimes it happens that an exchange is down or an API connection doesn't work, and you write our support, you will find that answer, hey, please, can you send us your API key, read only, obviously, so that we can debug it. We can't access that API key in any other way, so we just rely on good test data from our users, because you can imagine like the exchanges, they don't really care for the exports at this point. Their only goal is to keep their service up and running, and because with that they make money through the trading fees. So the export is something that comes like after that. And so like the files sometimes are not as like that easy to read, and they have a lot of edge cases. So that's obviously something where we really need to work together with our community and with our users, just to have like to provide the best experience for everyone.
Next question is, how do you get the prices for the crypto? Do you work individually with each exchange? Because I mean, of course, there are sort of set standardized prices, but often there are different prices for cryptocurrencies, especially at the sort of the more volatile, lower cap end of things, where you know it might be 1 Satoshi or 2 Satoshi, but there's a question of it being doubled there. Do you get the price off the exchange that the trade is on at the time, or do you use the centralized pricing system?
So especially for decentralized exchanges, that wouldn't be possible. For centralized, it would be, but it would be a huge load of data. So what we decided on, we get all our historical information and the current information from CoinMarketCap. So we have the full history for each asset they support on an hourly basis. So we have like hourly prices for the entire history back to 2010, 11. Like that's when CoinMarketCap started to have some sort of data. And for all the recent prices, we also use the 5 minutes prices from CoinMarketCap. So that's how it's currently set up. That means when you trade on Binance and you sell Ethereum and buy Bitcoin with it, we use the Ethereum price from CoinMarketCap from that specific hour to define the trade. A lot of other like services, especially for historical prices, use daily prices. Like it's just a matter of precision. I mean, there's not much you can do to actually get like second prices for the history. I mean, for the recent history, yes, but for everything before that, it's super hard to get. And it's obviously just a lot of data, extra data for it. And so it really, like it evens out at some point if you have like the hourly price. And that's what we use for the entire history. And a trade is always defined by the sell side. So let's say you sell Ethereum and you buy Bitcoin. The Ethereum could have a slightly different price in term like in pounds than Bitcoin. So what we did is we always, like every trade is defined by the sell side. So if Ethereum is worth 1,500 pounds and Bitcoin, like the Bitcoin you get is like 1,450, the cost basis for those Bitcoin you get would be the price of Ethereum at this time. So with that, we have a, like in summary, we have a zero sum in the end, because you would kind of like create a small loss on the Bitcoin when you bought it for a little bit for a higher price with the Ethereum. So that kind of like evens out, and that's something that works really well at this point.
2 more questions have been sent through. The first one is, how does it work with sort of hard wallets where crypto is stored sort of offline? And second, they're a little bit interlinked. The second one is, what happens in the case of forks, where Bitcoin forks and then you get given whatever the same number of the next coins and airdrops and things like that, effectively, where you're given crypto. How does that work?
Yeah. So wallets, like you can connect your, I mean, if you have money on your wallet or like Bitcoin on your wallet, you have your wallet address. So what you do is you just connect, like if it's really a paper wallet, you just connect your public address and we will scan what's on there. If you have it on a ledger or any sort of hardware wallet that uses an XPub, so that means it uses a different Bitcoin deposit address for every deposit you create. With that, you just import the XPub from Ledger, and we import the entire history as well. So for Ethereum, you just use the public address. For Bitcoin, you have to use the XPub. That's just really important to know, because otherwise you would only get, for example, one transaction of one of the addresses you used for your Bitcoin wallet. That's just important to know. And for hard forks, it depends if you got them on an exchange. Some exchanges send that information, others don't. But if you if you have the transaction in the history and you connect it, for example, Bitcoin Cash or some other wallet, we receive the deposit that comes in, or like we have that sort of like deposit in that wallet, and you will find the cost basis defined by the receiving date. If you want to change that, and if you want to have a different cost basis for it, you can just create an order, like a fake order, so to say, with pounds versus Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash or whatever you received, and you will define your cost basis manually. But if you just receive that, you can mark it as an hard fork, and you will find that here, and you will find that in the report itself as a summary. Yeah.
Next question from Bulat. Do you work worldwide or in every jurisdiction?
Yes, so we currently support the UK, the US, Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. The reason, like, we have one report that is not country specific, but the problem is that, and why we focused on country specific reports and why we have CPA partners in every country, is that every country uses different classification combinations. So that means, for example, in Germany, if you receive income from gambling and you sell it, that would be a tax-free event. So you wouldn't pay taxes on it because you never bought that asset. Same with airdrops. In the UK, when you receive an airdrop, you have to pay income tax. So it really depends on the different jurisdictions and the different classification combinations in the end. That's why it's really important to have that. If you're from another country and you want to use the general report, just make sure to double check what the regulations are in your country to make sure to like actually have that combination right. That's the only thing that's the big difference. And obviously for the UK, for example, like the German report looks completely different. Like the UK report here has the correct fields that you would also use in your capital gains report, and it's obviously all in pounds. You have a different calculation method. So we have pooling, we have FIFO, LIFO, multiple depot, single depot, and your settings are already preset to the correct country, and you can change that in the settings page to the ones I named. But yeah, if you go for other countries, that just allows you to define the tax relevant currency, the disposal method, the tax method, and so on.
Cool, no, thank you. And have you got any anticipated difficulties in terms of sort of the different tax reporting standards and regulations, or is it just that it's different and you'd have to devise a new sort of standard for each?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
It's from the same person, a follow on to the first one. If you anticipate any difficulties in terms of different tax reporting standards and regulations, or
the thing is, like, a lot of these countries don't really have a real standard yet, so that's a big problem. In those cases, we just work with our local partners and we add the explanation of why we handle a specific classification or a specific calculation method in the way we do. So that's just in the report itself, in the disclaimer, described as, like, for example, how we treat airdrops, how we treat hard forks, and all of this. So that's just something how we go about that, because if there's no clear regulation, we have to speculate on those things. We don't do that on our own because we want to use the exports for that. But yeah, that's something that's just like that for now. If there's more regulations coming out in the different countries, we're super fast by and add that and let the community know about those changes. But until then, we just have to go with what we get from the government, especially with the new things. I mean, they didn't even really consider like the normal decentralized trades. Let's see how long it takes for them to actually go and define how to like tax a rebase token or anything like that.
Yeah,
it's gonna be
cool.
interesting.
Do you have a way to manage sub-accounts or separate tax holdings, such as managing reporting for multiple family members, or possibly sharing a paid plan, for example, for multiple family members, or should they each create separate accounts for that if, for example, more than one person within a family is involved in crypto?
They should all create different accounts. That's always something I would recommend because it can create a chaos if you don't do that. In the UK, it's actually a little bit simpler because you have your average like pool sizes. So there it's not a big problem to just separate it again. You can do that, for example, if you want to separate, like let's say you trade it for your entire family and you want to separate it for the different family members. What you can do is you just fake a sell order, for example, for all the different assets you hold. So you would like type in, I want to sell 32,000 MNE tokens now, and then you can do that here by just creating a withdraw, and you will find the entire tax lots and average buy prices for those assets and the correct buy date in the report. So that's just something like that's a workaround to actually go in and fix that and actually split that up into the different family members. But I would say it's just easier to create a different account and specific exchange accounts for each family member.
Well, thank you. Just welcome Jeremy and everyone who joined a little bit later. We try and make these super interactive. So any questions, please do post them in the chat or raise your hand via the reactions and we'll get to you and get your questions answered. Next question, is your software primarily intended for individuals or businesses? I know you've touched a lot on the individual side, but are you able to help with businesses or?
Yes, in a way, but our main focus are retail investors. We have a few companies that you like a few projects, crypto projects and other companies or funds that use our system. But that's something you would need to, like, you can't just try it out, try the exports and figure out if that's something that your account would approve. But it's specifically made for retail investors. I mean, you have the entire transaction history, so that obviously helps. And you have the prices, you have the poolings and all of that. But that's not our main focus. That market is just really small at this point, and we have to focus on one thing. So our main focus is retail.
No, fair. Okay. And a question I've just been emailed in from somebody who's listening. What is your policy if you've got a crypto wallet, for example, or if it's a crypto company that are looking to launch crypto wallet services or crypto services to their users? Is there any way that they can integrate Cointing? And if so, how would that work? What would they need to do? And is that sort of an API or an add-on that you have to such a wallet providers, for example?
So it depends on the wallet. Like if it's a multi-asset wallet with trading functionalities, it would be really nice to have an API access to the service. We also have a standard CSV or Excel template. We can just send that over and you can take a look and we can help to actually find the correct format to output the data. So that's the two ways. If it's just a wallet service that allows you to export XPubs or the public addresses, we can add that address or like that wallet here. For example, like if you take a look, we have Bread, for example, which is a multi-asset wallet. So you just reach out to us. We add your logo here. We add you on our landing page as supported wallet, and we can figure out a way to integrate the data. But yeah, it really depends on the service that it offers or that the exchange offers.
I've got my own personal question, if that's okay to ask for you. It's a little bit off there, but it's a subject that's being raised more and more, and not so much in the crypto trading side, but where you've got the concept of digital currency being used by companies as an incentive mechanism or as a sort of almost like an in-house loyalty payment scheme, or for paying for tips or for paying for content, for example. Or I mean, even what Facebook are looking to do with their Libra. Obviously that's on a larger scale, but there are a number of companies now looking at how they can be using digital currency. So here I'm not talking about Bitcoin, but rather their own sort of probably stable digital currency where they would be using it for micropayments for a loyalty sort of community scheme. And I'm hearing so much more demand from companies wanting to do that, whereby such a currency is used for rewards or whatever, but nobody seems to know how that would work, sort of accounting wise or tax wise, because what is it? How would that work? I mean, in many ways, it would be the same as accruing air miles, for example, but how would that work? Would that work with your system, or what should such companies do if that's what they're looking to do, sort of create their own in-house stable currencies?
So what I would do, I mean, obviously, if, for example, if the company uses an ERC20 token or any sort of, or on the Binance Smart Chain or anything like that, you can just create that and import the address. Like, let's say you have one address where you receive tips, the other address where you send some community bounties or some rewards to the community. I would just set up multiple wallets and then connect them all to accounting. And once you have them in accounting, you can review those transfers by just going here. You can select, like, sort it by the exchange or by the wallet, by the transaction date or type, and then you add, like, you select, for example, you say, okay, all these these pictures here, anyway, you select that as, I don't know, for example, as a gift or a payment or something else, a gift sent or whatever it was, and classify all of this. And with that classification, you will find that summary in here. Just move that. You will find that summary of all outgoing and incoming transactions in here, and you, like, based on a on the classification, summed up, and there's a bigger list here than with all the different ones, and it's the same thing in Excel. So if you want to integrate it in QuickBooks or anything like that, you have an Excel export with all the different transactions, with the value at the receiving or send date, and you can use that as a statement for different transactions you did. So that's definitely possible. We have a few crypto projects that use accounting just to keep track of all their wallets from the development funds. So they already do that. But obviously, if there's, like, if you have some people that are interested in that, we can definitely hop on a call and explain how that would work for the specific use case.
There's a few such companies I'll introduce you to who I know who have been sort of working out the logistics of doing something along those lines. Now we're on to the exciting topical questions. Jeremy is asking about staking and how can that be accounted for? I mean, this brings us then onto the DeFi questions. The next question after that is with the explosion of DeFi, how earnings from being a liquidity provider would be accounted. And then my next question after that would touch on the lending side and borrowing against your crypto for investments. But if you can touch on the staking first, and then we'll dig deeper into that rabbit hole.
So there's two ways. Depends where you stake. If you stake, for example, on Kraken or any other service, just connect the exchange with an API. We import the staking rewards, mark it as staking, and you will find a full summary in the tax report. That's absolutely no problem. If you stake by yourself and you kind of like lock some funds for staking, there's two ways of actually doing that at the moment. We will integrate like a little bit more automated solution for that, but at the moment, what you would do is you go into the full data, like in the history, you see all the incoming transactions, right? And you can mark them as staking reward. Let's say if that would be, I mean, this one is an airdrop, but if that would be a staking reward, you just mark it as a staking reward. If the funds you
But do people have to do that manually then? But they have to go through and tick boxes.
It really depends on the service, and if we get that information from that specific service, from the blockchain or from the explorer we use. So like I would say in half of the services that's fully automated, and in the other half we don't have like that information that it comes from staking. So you would just go into the review section and mark all of them as staking. That's something we like. If there's someone that has like a lot of different staking rewards, just let us know for like what service you use and we can take another look. Maybe they added it. But the funds you use for staking, so the funds you lock up for staking, you will find a transaction in the history as well. And if that transaction leaves your account, it would actually create a disposal of that fund. So you have to be a little bit careful there. That's what I mean with half automatic solution, because those funds, and the good thing is those transactions are like, that's usually a handful of transactions. So you can do either you ignore that. So with that, we just ignore the transaction and you keep the funds because it's still your funds and you just lock them up. Or what you can also do is you create a staking wallet and you send those funds that leave your wallet into that staking wallet as a deposit and mark it as an internal transaction after that. So you would just, let's say we send 1 Ethereum in here, you would just add that as an unclassified one. And that's kind of like the beauty about that system, because
And you would just go through and do that manually for.
that would be manual, exactly. For now, that's what I meant with like half automatic solution.
Yeah.
But yeah, you would see the 1 Ethereum coming into the staking wallet, and if you have like the according withdraw, this, like let's say that comes from your Ethereum, you have the withdrawal of 1 Ethereum that went in, like that you locked up for staking, it would look like this, right? So you have the 1 Ethereum that leaves your account, and then it would go into your staking locked up wallet. And with that, you would just assign that as an internal. The important thing about this is actually, that's also the same thing for when you send something from an exchange to a wallet. That's really important because with that, we don't dispose the transaction. We know, okay, this Ethereum wallet doesn't leave your ecosystem. It stays in your, like you still own it, and we keep the cost basis for it. We don't touch the pool. We don't assign any new cost basis or proceeds for it. We just move it from one of your wallets to the other wallet. And that's really, really important. That's something that a lot of people don't forget or don't think about. So that's something that you actually have to check. In most cases, that's automatically assigned. So when you import your Ethereum wallet in your Binance account, those internals get matched automatically and you will find them as an internal transaction. If that's not the case, that's usually because the transaction ID was not given by the exchange. So if we don't have a transaction ID, we can't say for sure if that Ethereum deposit is matched with that withdrawal, because there could be another withdrawal half an hour later or earlier that was the correct one for that internal. So that's something, that's why we have the review page, and that's why you would go here and assign that or approve that manually. And we will show all the different like combinations, or like we would just show you a few internals that or could be internals, and you just approve them. Or if it's not an internal, you just classify them separately as a specific like payment or some an income from somewhere.
No, cool, thank you. And so the next question down that rabbit hole is how it would work with earnings from being a liquidity provider.
It's pretty much, it's similar. So you have earnings as liquidity pool or lending income. So it's actually liquidity pool income, but that was a little bit too long for that list. And income. So that's just something, or like same with gambling income. So you would just, the rewards you get back, you just mark them as lending liquidity income. They're also then shown separately in the tax report. And if you use something for a collateral, if you lend money, or if you borrow money and you use Bitcoin as collateral for it, you can do the same thing as with the staking wallet, because you actually just lock them in. You don't sell them, you don't lose that fund. You still have those Bitcoin, but they're somewhere else and they're locked up. So do you have two options? Either you ignore that and you would just you would see that this withdrawal doesn't exist anymore in your calculation. You still the Bitcoin still shows up in your account, or you do that with the separate wallet. But yeah, that's kind of like how this works, because you don't want to dispose those funds when you send it as collateral for something. So that's just a little bit of like a trick that you can use for now. There's a plan to actually automate that a little bit more. The problem is just there's so many different lending and borrowing services, liquidity pools. So that's just something we will integrate, but it just takes some time, especially now with the bull market and with all the different people, like new people and signups that we get. Like our main focus for now and for the next 4 weeks still is really to scale up our servers. Like that's just to keep the service up and running and to keep it fast. And after that, we will integrate again. We will integrate more and more of these services to be fully automatic.
No, cool, thank you. And then my next question, touching on from that, is you've touched on the lending, but there are now these lending platforms where people are borrowing against their crypto to invest or
Yep.
to make trades, or even borrowing others' crypto to invest and make trades. Have you any idea how that could work? Is that a work in progress, or is there any way that can be synced?
Yeah,
I mean, I hear of all of these crazy and amazing schemes where even sort of investment platforms are looking at allowing investors to borrow against their crypto to make investments and so forth.
So like I said, the collateral that you use for it, I would just put that in a separate wallet or just ignore the withdrawal, and then you just have to remember, okay, this 1 Bitcoin is actually used because I borrowed money.
Right.
And then the deposit comes in, you can add that as an add funds, which is considered a non-taxable income in accounting. So you just mark it here as add funds. It will also show up in a report as add funds, and you can just ignore that as like in your statement later when you file your taxes. You don't consider that as income. You just ignore that because you know it was a borrowed amount. That's actually something we can add as another classification. You see that there's some sort of UX upgrade we have to do here because the list keeps getting longer and longer. But that's actually a good idea that we add another classification for this, like borrowed money, so that we just have that in a separate list in the tax report.
Cool. Thank you. Next question from Richard. How long does it take you to bring on a new exchange?
That really depends on the exchange data quality first. If we have good good examples for our integration, it always helps. Like if you want to request an exchange, just write us or add it to our community board. But it actually helps so much if we just can have access to the API read key, because that's often that's just a great data set to check if the integration actually works. The exchanges don't have the best documentations usually for their API connections, so there's a lot of try and error, and that's why real data actually helps a lot. We moved to a community-based voting for our next integrations. So that means we don't want to define the priority of exchanges that we integrate next. We want our community to do that. That's something you can also do in a few days on our community board. And with that, you just request a feature requests. You can also request all sorts of other features for the web app, mobile app. If there's a currency missing, just let us know and we can add that. And if you want an exchange or a wallet, you see there's quite a good list of exchange integrations that people want. So we just want everyone to kind of post it here. We allow the voting in a few days, and with that we take away that prioritization from our side, and we give it to the community.
Cool. No, thank you. Next questions. Does the automated import of transactions and staking apply also to decentralized exchanges like Curve and?
Wait. Sorry, for decentralized exchanges?
Yeah. So does the where you said about the automated import of transactions and staking, can that also apply to decentralized exchanges like Curve and Uniswap?
Yes. So if you check out this data set here, you see that that's actually a good example. There's a uni airdrop in that wallet that came in, and then there's a swap of that against Ethereum. Looking back, I guess that was a bad decision, but here you see there's a swap. There's a swap from those 400 uni airdrops to Ethereum. So that's an automatic import from a Uniswap transaction. and we mark that automatically as swap. They get mixed, like they get aligned with each other through the transaction ID. So that's a fully automated import.
Cool. No, thank you. And next question, is there a pricing plan available between the free and holder plans? For example, somebody who uses less than 100 transactions.
At the moment, no. There's the 25 transaction report, which is free. And then you have the 500 transactions that you can use up like in the hobbyist package.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just we had to kind of like align our prices with the effort it takes to actually keep that service up and running, and so that's the only thing we can do.
No, of course. And I'll add on to that. Accounting have kindly given any Crypto Curry Club member or listener of these webinars a discount code. So if when you go to the Accounting website, it's I think Crypto Curry Club, and you'll get a discount off their services. So big thanks to Dennis and to Rodrigo for that. So it's just Crypto Curry Club as a discount code if you do want to use services. From Tiago, what do you do when you repay? Like we're going back to the loans. I believe that question is about if you're borrowing against your crypto and then you repay, how would that work?
So here, same thing. I would let's say that's something you borrowed and you want to repay that. You would just add that as remove funds, which then again is shown in the report as a non-taxable disposal. It's just a disposal or like a remove of your funds from your account. So they are considered tax-free. So that's kind of like how this works for now. Once we have the full automatic integration, there will be a separate classification for that. But for now, that's the best solution and workaround we have to just classify that as remove funds.
Thanks. And how is interest accounted for those who are lending out their crypto?
You should probably do that as payment. What we do have for margin trades, we have margin loss. So all sort of like interest you have to pay is considered as margin loss. We actually have an interest paid. So
what about interest gained as well on that note? So
that's the same thing. We have, let me see, we have margin lending. No, interest gained we actually don't have. That's something we can add. But interest paid we do have. So interest paid, you mark that as interest paid, and interest earned, I would mark that as income.
Okay. And do you see it? I mean, there's obviously a few things that still need to be done manually. Is it just a matter of time for exchanges and wallets and so forth to effectively up their UX and up the game so that these things can all just be done on an automatic basis? So if anyone is staking or lending or any of these things, that it just is just synced automatically to your system.
It's automatic. Every transaction is fully automatically synced. The only thing that sometimes you have to do manually is mark them with the correct classification. Let's say an airdrop comes in. We don't know like that this is an airdrop. The system or the blockchain doesn't tell us about that being an airdrop. That's just a transaction that comes in, but it's possible that you send that from another wallet or it comes from some random person or from some random project. So that's something I'm not sure if we can ever fully automate like that classification part of it, but you will we already have the full automation for all the transactions. So all the transactions are in the system. The only thing you would have to do is really to classify some of them if we don't get that sort of information from the exchange.
No, okay. Thank you. No, super conscious of time. We've got a few minutes left. So if anyone does have any burning questions, please do drop them in. I mean, I guess my sort of guess or estimation is that the way that DeFi is growing and lending against crypto and staking and all of these things are just growing at exponential pace, with all of the big consultancies and payments firms even now seriously taking note on this. So I would love to see where things grow and develop.
Yeah.
Where these things sort of are automated on that side of things.
Yeah, I mean, we want to keep up with the speed in that environment and in that ecosystem. And we are also hiring more developers. So if like by any chance, if some developers are here or someone knows some more backend developers or blockchain developers, just please tell them to reach out. We're desperately looking for more people to help us in the development of accounting.
Well,
and,
if you send me details, I'll post it in the Curry chat, because there's always we've got lots of developers and there's always some people looking for work and so forth. So happy to share that if you send details out.
Like our team is now, like, we're now about 20 people in overall, like with all the different departments that we have, but we want to grow it further just to like really keep up with all the things that are happening. And it's just not so easy to source people, especially in Switzerland, in Zug. It's just such a small city here, the Crypto Valley, but we are a full decentralized team. I mean, the company is based and we have a lot of people in Zug directly, but we also do have people all over the world. So if anyone knows a good developer or someone else that wants to work with us, please just reach out.
We'll share. Thank you. Just a quick point from Bruce, who's saying he's a great product and he's a paying user of your platform, and he would like to see restore from backup function, including restoring from wallets and exchanges, and a link of transactions using drag or drop. Is that
Yeah. So if you want to have a backup of the system, just click on export full history here. And when you do add that again, just type in accounting. You see the export data here as well. You can add, like, withdraw that, just upload that entire thing. You, like, sometimes if we don't find the correct mapping for some reason, that's something you can add here. Here in that screen, it's actually nice to select the correct wallet. You don't have to, but sometimes it helps, just if you want to upload more data in that specific format, it helps to actually put in the correct wallet name. I'm just going to do it like that for now. So you upload that and we upload all the different things again. So we create the wallets again, but obviously as a manual one. So that's kind of like how it works. We upload everything as a manual wallet. You will have all the transactions recovered. The only thing that is not there is the API key and the public address, because we can't export that because we don't have access to that. So that's something that you get the entire classifications, all the comments you made, all the different transactions, but you can't have the API keys again. So if you want to have those again, you would need to mark it as the correct exchange, then click on this little edit function. And then if you have marked it as uphold, you can just connect it again with the uphold flow, and then you have it fully recovered.
Cool, thank you. Tracy's asking, is this going to be on again? Yes, no doubt it will. I think we've done 3 of these, and each time ran out of time with still questions coming through the whole time. So no doubt it will be repeated. So we'll get that emailed out to you, and it was also recorded, so we'll get that out to you. Tracy, don't worry about that. So I was saying that I wish they were a dev that's all good as the best. I quite agree. I'm trying to bribe the accounting team to get me out there for the rest of lockdown. So no, guys, everyone, thank you very, very, very much for joining. Dennis and Rodrigo, thank you so much for your time and answering hundreds of questions again, super patiently. Really, really grateful. It's such a cool platform. I know that loads of people in the Currys are actively using it and happy and getting questions answered. So really grateful to you for answering all of those questions. To everyone else, thank you for joining and posing all of the questions. I'll be emailing out a link to this, and with the discount code, if you do want to use it, it's just Crypto Curry Club, which will get you a discount off the platform. But if you do have any other questions, I know that Dennis and Rodrigo are always super happy to help and answer questions, and we'll be doing another one of these. So don't be shy to reach out if you do have any more questions, and we'll get those sent to them. But everyone, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And oh, Jeremy has just said he signed up before the discount code was announced. Sorry, Jeremy. And does he need to upgrade after 500 transactions, or is there any way that now that he's already signed up?
Out to us, and we can send a part refund for that, for the difference.
So if it is the best thing to email out your contact details, and then Jeremy can reply to that, and you will you'll look after him.
Yeah. So
So now he wins. He gets part refund and beers after lockdown.
so it's best, like, if you have any questions related to how to import different things, it's, I guess, the fastest way to get an answer is to go into our community board. The other option is to write our support@accounting.com. For a refund, like for a part refund, for example, you would just write to support@accounting. So just use that. We will usually answer within 1 or 2 days. It's crazy how many people now reach out to us. So it takes a little
Okay,
bit
don't reach out to them. They're overwhelmed. Reach out to the community board. But no, guys, that's super good. Sorry about not announcing the code earlier, but yes, Jeremy, you will be able to upgrade. So guys, thank you very, very much. Maybe harass me if need be, or harass their website for many questions, and they've posted the careers site there. So I'll get that emailed out also. So everyone, thank you for joining Dennis and Rodrigo. So it's
But this is all great. I just want to thank you, Erica, for setting this up. Thank you for like everyone who came to check us out. And make sure that you check out also, we have the app in Android and iOS. It's absolutely free. So also if you wanna start tracking for your transactions and check out a lot of new cool features that we will be launching, yeah, I would definitely recommend that you download the app so you can have everything on the go as well, right?
Sure.
I think in the team we're like completely addicted to the app, and I think if you guys test it out, you will too. So
that.
Sounds good.
So no, guys, thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
And thank you to all, and see you all soon.